I just found the craziest detail in the Bible, and it literally makes me think that this must have been from God. There is no way this is man-made, just because the detail is so perfect, and I'm still in shock from it. I'm going to explain it to you guys.
All right, let's see it.
This detail is found in Genesis chapter 5 in the genealogy. So in this genealogy, it starts off with Seth. Seth was the father of Enosh. Enosh was the father of Kenan. Kenan was the father of Mahalalel. Mahalalel was the father of Jared. Jared was the father of Enoch, and so on and so forth. It just goes on and on for a few more lines. Just a normal genealogy, right? But basically each name has a meaning in Hebrew. So the name Noah means rest. It literally translates to that. The name Seth means man appointed. So just like our names could have meanings, their names literally have meanings in their language. It translates to that word. And knowing that, if we were to translate all these names in this whole genealogy into Hebrew, not altering anything, in the same order that they are shown here, it would come out to man appointed, mortal sorrow. The blessed God must come down teaching. His death shall bring the despairing rest. That sounds a whole lot like Jesus, doesn't it? That sounds like what Jesus did when he came down on earth. That's because it's a prediction of Jesus.
So this claim comes from a man named Chuck Missler, who published in 1999 this book, Cosmic Codes, Hidden Messages from the Edge of Eternity. And this was published the same year Missler got his PhD from the unaccredited Louisiana Baptist University. And as with all claims that there are secret messages ferreted away underneath the original languages of the biblical texts, this is entirely made up. There is no truth to the notion that the names in this genealogy spell out a sentence. But let's take a look at the names and their meanings according to Chuck Missler. Now, the first four, Adam, Seth, Enosh, and Kenan, are supposed to spell out man-appointed mortal sorrow. And there are a number of reasons that this does not work at all. To begin, Kenan does not mean sorrow. Kenan is a hypochoristic form of the name Cain, which has reference to smithing and metallurgy. So that doesn't work right there. Next, Enosh is basically synonymous with Adam. They both just mean human. And so mortal is used here as an adjective, and that just doesn't work. And then Seth is understood to mean appointed, which it can, however, in the active sense, not in the passive sense. And in this sentence, it is supposed to be functioning in the passive, and it would be an entirely different name if it actually meant human or man is appointed, as in the man is the one who is appointed something, is the object of the verbal action rather than the subject of the verbal action. As it stands in Hebrew, it would have to mean man has appointed. And then we go to Mahalalel, which is supposed to mean the blessed God, and it does not mean that. There is no definite article for one, but also Mahalalel means praising God or praise of God. It's not a reference to God, it is a comment about what humans do to or for God. So that doesn't work. Jared can mean will come down or even must come down, but it can also just mean has come down, and that's far more likely in light of naming conventions in Semitic languages. And it probably had a theophoric element with it at some point. In other words, there was a divine name or a reference to some kind of deity. So and so has come down, probably to facilitate this successful pregnancy or birth or something like that. So the name would be honoring what the God has done for the child and the family. So it would not be shall come down. Enoch does not mean teaching. It comes from a verb that means to introduce or initiate. Methuselah traditionally has been read to mean his death shall send. Shalach would be the verbal root for to cast, throw, or send. It does not mean to bring, but that's also likely a folk etymology. Most scholars today would say this means man of something, and some folks think that Shalach is the name of a deity, man of Shalach, or maybe Shalach is a verbal root or something like that. But it does not mean his death shall bring, and it does not fit into a sentence. Lamech does not mean the despairing. To begin, that would require a definite article. It would be a participle. It would be in the plural. None of that is true of the name Lamech, which does not come from the verbal root to despair. It either means strong man or might be the name of some kind of deity that had something to do with music. We're not sure, but it definitely does not mean the despairing. And then Noah, Missler said rest or comfort, and that's actually two different etymologies depending on which verbal root you think Noah comes from. It can come from a verbal root that means to rest or repose, or it can come from a verbal root that means to be comforted or to comfort. So it's one or the other. It's not both at the same time. And so when we put these together, they don't spell out a sentence of any kind whatsoever. Missler was not a competent scholar of Hebrew. This is entirely made up. There is no hidden message in the genealogy of Genesis 5. Please don't spread this kind of misinformation. Chuck Missler did not have the first clue what he was talking about. And the fit for this video has been Rogue and Gambit Forever.